Hi, hello, welcome. I'm Jess, and this is my channel, Yoga for the Apocalypse, where we talk about yoga and we discuss what is happening all around us in the world and hopefully connect the two. So I've been teaching for almost 12 years now, and I guess I've been practicing yoga in one form or another for 15. And only now am I getting more into the depth in terms of yoga philosophy and how that can be applied just to living, right? And I'm currently attending a 300-hour yoga teacher training. And I'm super grateful for the experience because it's giving me the opportunity to delve much deeper into the topic of yoga philosophy and the roots of yoga, as well as the concept of decolonizing yoga, decolonization, meaning observing where and when and how my teaching of yoga, my practice of yoga, my yoga videos, anything that I do related to the practice itself and the work that I do, so my paid work, that would scrutinize whether or not I am paying my respects to the tradition of yoga in the way that I do it and in the way that I share it. So, in addition to just like doing the asanas, the physical postures, and the pranayama, which is the breath work, there are these other facets of the practice that can be applied. And yeah, up until now, I don't feel like I was ready for all that. And I think like a lot of people who might be yoga curious might also not really be ready for all that. So I'm not really here to like peddle any of it or push it. I'm just at this moment trying to communicate where I'm at with it. And I'm in the process of just learning how to apply what I'm learning in practice. So, brief example. A couple videos ago, I talked about ahimsa, and I introduced the concept improperly straight out the gate and regretted it immediately and hoped that nobody got their information from me that day from the first 30 seconds of that video because it was somewhat incorrect. You would have had to listen a little bit longer to hear me make my own correction. Ahimsa is one of the yamas of yoga, of Ashtanga yoga, and it refers to, loosely, the concept of non-harming and nonviolence in speech, word, action, deed, all the things, right? And of being mindful of how you conduct yourself. And we've been studying this for a couple of months now, and I have been asking myself in what ways I apply this principle of ahimsa and in what ways that I do not. And I'm not I appreciate spiritual paths that give people some parameters, like non-harming, for example, and why we should hold these values and uphold them with our actions. But I'm not on this like self-improvement journey so hard that all I'm doing is trying to seek to be a better human being. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not trying to perfect myself by doing yoga, but I am wanting to be an authentic person. So I want to be myself while I'm here on this planet, in this body. I want to be able to be real. But I notice how sometimes in the pursuit of that realness, or in just being yourself as you are feeling, how your authenticity can threaten, ahimsa in a way. Sometimes non-harming it can not threaten non-harming. That's not how I want to say it. What I'm trying to say is like, we're wanting to, a lot of us who are on this path and we're exploring yoga and other means toward healing and recovery. And part of that healing and recovery is learning how to be real, and learning how to be real, really yourself in a public way with hopefully everyone and everything you interact with. And sometimes that bumps up against the needs of others, the feelings of others, the experiences of others, and others' capacity, to understand. I'll give an example. Today, I was reminded that despite the fact, as I see it, that capitalism, as it is right now, has been unchecked so long that it is a literal existential threat. That is how I see it. I see our economic system, which is way too conflated with patriotism and Americanism, as an existential threat. I am astonished every day that goes by where there is a data center, something that we heretofore have not needed ever. This hasn't existed in the history of humanity. We've not required these things. And we've got these billionaires, and none of us can really even comprehend what that actually means. Concentrating all of the wealth and the power, and they have all this influence. And they're like embedded with the military-industrial complex. And they just want everything. They want to extract every resource, living and dead, from the planet, regardless of the consequences. And in fact, some of these capitalists, they understand what Naomi Klein dubbed shock doctrine, which is like creating chaos, creating trauma, so as to capitalize further from the traumatized people. And this is happening all the time. You can see this happening right now with these ICE raids and the fallout of all of that. And again, I also relate that back to capitalism, competition, and the unwillingness to share, and which brings us to the dirty, a dirty word, a culturally dirty word, socialism. So if I say socialism, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind? Is it like breadlines? Is it like communist Russia? Like, is it Marxism? Is it authoritarianism? Is it like, oh my God, why can't I think of his name right now? Che Guevara. Like, okay, so I'm going to relate this to today. I'll eventually get there. And this reaction that I had in a conversation that brought me back to ahimsa. But before I get there, I have to point out that as they are, and as capitalism seems and is an existential threat to those of us who are paying attention, it can be and is disheartening when we seek to explore the concept of socialism in the form of democratic socialism. Zoran Mamdani, was elected the mayor of New York. He is a self-proclaimed democratic socialist. I believe Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist. There is a gal who is now running for the governor of Wisconsin who's a democratic socialist. A lot of the organizations right now that are doing organizing against ICE for the liberation of the people of Palestine and against these data centers happen also to be democratic socialists. And all I could think of is how the concept of democratic socialism, which had been applied in a lot of the Nordic countries, which probably through no coincidence are also considered to be like the happiest places on the planet. These are places that honor humanity, just being alive with the things that people need, like health insurance, the ability to go get what you need if you need health care, like affordable daycare or paid maternity and paternity leave. I can't help but think that if people weren't in a constant state of survival, how much we could accomplish, and honestly, how much of a threat we would be to those that seek complete dominion over all that is good on this planet and that just seem to have everything. You know, we're out here, we are working and we are struggling to survive. And as a result, we are really unable to engage in a way that would ensure our continued survival. And I continue to wonder why the concept of socialism is such a dirty idea and word to so many, especially right now when we're literally on the brink in so many ways, that I can't help but wonder and joke and laugh and be full of fear that it is an apocalyptic scenario. Like what? Like, and I am not going to dismiss the possibility that those people that are organizing movements right now that are in favor of protecting lives and dignity and resources and the planet happen to be largely democratic socialists. And interestingly, like when Zoran won the mayorship in New York City, and I had a wonderful day as a result because I thought, oh my goodness, Cuomo's been in power on and off and for all those years, and he really represents the establishment, and there's this anti-establishment young guy that managed to win this position. So grateful to see him there. And I I was posting about it on Facebook or something, and the first comment was under my post of celebration was socialism. I'm like, socialism. And the thing is, if you say, yeah, socialism, because everyone has these differing and specific ideas at the same time of what socialism is, you don't even really know if you're talking about the same damn thing. And you don't even really know what you are telling the world that you are, if you will even be understood. I'm not really sure it even matters. But I do see the connection right now between capitalism and disaster capitalism, which is what Naomi Klein talks about in the shock doctrine, and the attempt by the, I don't want to call them the elite. I think it's disgusting. The elite would give this impression in my mind of someone that's better than me, more important, has more importance. These are literally criminals that are like ruining the world right now. They're fucking criminals. And they're ruining the world. And I'm losing my train of thought because as I think about it, it's making me angry. Where am I going with this, guys? I don't know how we're supposed to start a movement, make any lasting change, if we don't even have a shared understanding of concepts. You know what I mean? I have to ask myself, am I a democratic socialist? I guess so. Yes, I am. I had to sort of put that out there because people want to know. They want to know, oh, you're in support of this? Then this must mean that. This must mean you are a blank. Well, this came up today, and I got pissed because, frankly, when there are elders in my life that are seemingly unaware of the true gravity of the present moment and the potential future, which is dystopian if it continues to go the direction that it seems to be going. I had a very okay boomer moment today, and it's largely because if you are, like myself, concerned about the state of the world, also going about working to make money to survive while it all kind of falls apart around you, and somebody says to you, well, socialism, socialism, it really, in the scheme of things, it just doesn't really work around the world. It hasn't, historically speaking. And that's the line, right? That's what everybody tells you when you bring up socialism in this capitalist country that is the United States of America. Socialism? How dare you bring up socialism? That doesn't work. Look around. Tell me again how well this capitalist system is really working. And I got embroiled in this argument, and I was feeling very okay boomer. I cannot with the boomers right now when they're coming at me with stuff like this. because I feel like we don't have a future. This is what I see. This is why I call this channel Yoga for the Apocalypse. I see that we are living in a time that could amount to, the death of our real freedom and our essence of being human inside of this machine almost that is all of these systems and the way that they're catching up with us. And I just, it makes me really sad I have two young adult children that are brilliant and kind and hardworking, gentle spirits that I brought into the world 26 years ago as a youth myself. And even then I knew that we were like on the brink of something that would happen in my lifetime. And it was just obvious to me simply because of how, even at like 19 years old, things were just really starting to kind of fall apart. That's when like school shootings started. And I thought, oh my God, this is the world now. We live in a world where a kid might pick up a gun and bring it into a school and just kill him, all of his fellow students. I remember knowing at that time that there was a future in front of me that was super uncertain, possibly violent, and definitely not what I was hoping for. And now, 26 years later, there's just nothing but more and more examples of how things are going south. Anyway, I'm going to bring it back to ahimsa, and then I'm going to end this video because it's getting dark in here. Because I'm all over the place. I apologize if I'm being too loud in this mic. Okay. I got upset today, not over a difference of opinion, but more over the supposition that simply because socialism as this large, gross, less than fully defined concept has not worked in other times and places, that it clearly won't, while discounting the violence, like real violence, of this capitalist system that is literally ruining the world and causing the apocalypse. So nobody could say that to me anymore. I just don't, I understand that humans are humans and that systems are always going to be perverted by our humanity. So there would be no perfect way, and that socialism may not be the answer. However, I don't think we should just dismiss it anymore in that type of way. And I got quite unhinged during this discussion for various reasons. And as I got more and more triggered, my little thumbs were on fire while I was texting. It was vitriol. I mean, I was really letting loose some things that really didn't need to be said. It really is getting dark, huh, guys? Yeah. Hey. And I was brought back to yoga. I was brought back to the concept of ahimsa and of non-harming and of my desire and commitment to not make things worse. So I disengaged. I did not send the viciousness that was bubbling up. And I'm grateful to yoga for that. I'm grateful to myself for developing the skills that would allow me to be so perceptive of what's going on inside and also have the ability to get myself in check, interrupt a hurtful or harmful behavior. Anyway, yeah, this is 25 minutes. about to be dark. I made a video. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know if it's helpful. I don't think it's harmful, so I'll probably put it out there. Anyway. Socialism should not be a bad word. If you are inclined, like I am, to connect with people who are affiliated with the socialist movement, you want to learn more about it, you want to talk about it, try not to let people shut you down when they tell you that it doesn't work, it's a slippery slope toward a bad situation, because we're already in a fucking bad situation right now. I mean, you know, and these older folks, they don't know. They don't know. If they're not more intent to be conscious themselves, they're not aware that the younger ones are out here struggling harder than they ever had to make money and to keep it. And that we are oftentimes evolving in ways that they didn't or didn't have to. I'm talking about like our morals and values and the things that the younger generation decides, hey, I don't like the way these older folks are doing this, and we're going to change this. This is not what we want to do. So if you are of the mind where you're evolving, you are critical of what is going on in the world, you are afraid for the future, and you are still here showing up, my God, give yourself a little bit of credit and take heart. I don't know what the solutions are, but I also know that I'm not going to let anybody shut me down with things that are not helpful. And when I find myself being very reactive on borderline harmful with my words, I'm going to draw myself back into my values and remind myself that yoga asks more of me. So that's what I got today, folks. Thanks for being with me on this dreary afternoon, and for still listening, even though I'm sitting here in the dark. Feel free to comment. I appreciate every comment I receive. I appreciate every like. It's very encouraging to me. It might sound superficial, but it is, because it's like, well, good, somebody may have benefited from what I had to speak on today. But, no pressure. Thanks again, and I will see you shortly. Take care.